Hello, everyone. Good evening. So excited to have you here and our guest, Anisha. We will be starting in just a moment. Yep. Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everyone. Lean in India is extremely excited to partner with Business World and Sipping Thoughts to bring you a session on breaking stereotypes, glass ceilings, and perceptions with Anisha Singh, founding partner, She Capital, uh, and ex-CEO Maidala. This session today focuses on how we can break perceptions around glass ceilings and shatter them to make an impact. I am Urvi Juneja, VP at Genpact and chapter lead at Lean in India. Anisha's own journey as a successful entrepreneur has been full of breaking stereotypes, glass ceilings, and altering traditional perceptions. In her new role as an investor, she's on a mission to cultivate female unicorns, success stories, and role models that resonate with younger women aspirants. Anisha's own journey as a successful entrepreneur has been full of breaking stereotypes, glass ceilings, and now she dawns on a new role as an investor to cultivate young women entrepreneurs. Anisha was ranked amongst the top 7 women CEOs located outside by the US by Crunchbase in 2018. Prior to Maidala, Anisha founded and ran a digital technology content company called Kinnis Software Solutions. Anisha started her career working with Clinton administration on an initiative called Springboard, which helped women entrepreneurs raise funds. Anisha has been recognized as one of the top 100 global diversity leaders in 2019 and under the business category in Women in Asia, 50 most influential 2018. She's the president of the jury of the Cartier Women Initiative Awards for South Asia, Oceania region. She was also a judge on a startup reality show on MTV similar to Shark Tank called Dropout. Anisha has an MA and MBA from American University in Washington, D.C. So a little bit about our partners. Sipping Thoughts. Sipping Thoughts is a multi-platform media company co-founded by Sukirti Gupta and Meeta Gutkutia. It was set up keeping in mind the tagline, Real Women, Real Thoughts, a no judgment platform where they want to create a network of women for women. And now about Lean in India. Lean in India is the official national chapter of for Lean in India. It's a community founded by Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg that empowers women towards their ambitions. Lean in India aims to contribute towards encouraging more women in leadership positions through peer circles, campaigns, collaborations, and events. And our aim is to increase representation of women in leadership roles by enabling them. With this, I will hand over to our speaker, Anisha, to kickstart the conversation. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Where do you want me to get started? I'll get started with that. Why don't I tell my story real quick and just give you a quick overview so that I think it'll make for an interesting conversation and then everybody can understand as well why it's breaking stereotypes. So unlike people who grow up having a life plan or who have been in a family where it's okay and everything is encouraging. I actually grew up in a fairly traditional family. I think everybody was very supportive of each other, but it was a traditional family. My sisters didn't go outside India. They actually got married fairly early, and I think everybody just assumed I'd follow that natural path. And not that there's anything wrong in getting married earlier, but I was the first female in my family to go out. I think a lot of people just assumed that was the only pathway because I was extremely unambitious. Okay, so I was one of those people who was average all the way through. Okay, so whenever now I have kids of my own, and there are all these amazing super mommies who are great friends of mine who come and who keep talking about their kids getting 90 and 99, and it fascinates me because for me, I'd be happy with a 70. So it was I was okay with average. And I think still I'm pretty okay with that, I think so. That's where I was. And it just happened that I interned at Discovery Channel in India, and I met a phenomenal female. And that is why, and I later on in my story, you'll hear why it's so important for me to keep building this community out. Like you all. And so I met a phenomenal female, and she said, why don't you apply to the US? And so I did, to only one school, and I got into their MA program. And so I did an MA and an MBA, and I had a professor who'd keep picking on me. And I found it very ironic. Like, he'd ask me, and I was the only one shying away. And the joke is he kept picking and helped me find my voice, and my husband says you haven't shut up ever since. So that's been the thing. But after that, I worked for the Clinton administration, as you said. But you know what, they say there are turning points in your life, right? And if somebody asked me, and I've been asked this many times, what are turning points, I actually didn't realize then that was a fairly big defining moment for me, because I saw all these amazing female entrepreneurs with no backing, right? In the US, it's not like, oh, if you're, out on your own, you can go back to your parents. A lot of the family structures don't allow for that, right? And these women who are making a go of it, regardless, single moms with two, kids, and they were just so inspirational. And I think somewhere those seeds were implanted that I want to be them. I'm going to be them. And then I interned for a phenomenal female founder who ran this big SaaS company, could do 30 push-ups. So my goal in life became, I'm going to have a 300 people company, and I'm going to do 30 push-ups someday. And you know what? Now I do 50 straight. And she and I joke about this. And I keep telling her, Julie, let's do 50. So she's like, you're such a show off. But it became such a goal to try and accomplish that. And that is why I say, role models, and I tell everybody, role models are extremely important, and they don't have to be people that you that are close to you. You can look up to somebody and just admire them from far and just try and aspire to be them. Then post that, I worked for an e-learning company, an edtech company, and then essentially I ended up it did fairly well for itself. EdTech that time wasn't EdTech, it was e-learning. We did a live meeting product very similar to Zoom that did fairly well for itself. So I actually cashed out and came back to India to set up my own e-learning company. I had to pivot that, and I realized the hard way then, because I was very delusional. I had, as an entrepreneur, assumed that, I'll sell the company in 1 year and it's going to be all good and it's going to be hunky dory. And a year later, I was basically crying on the couch, and I didn't have money to pay anybody. And it was the worst ever, right? As an entrepreneur, when you realize that you can't move. And it just so happened that the next day we ended up getting a big contract. It wasn't in the edtech space, and I took it because we were so desperate. And that was our homecoming, because I ended up selling the company to the company that we got the big contract from after, growing it to a certain level. Post that, I started Maidala, for which I moved back to India again in 2009. And that really just kind of took off, basically. And we grew that. I started scaling that up to about, we took it to close to 200 cities. I grew it about 120 crore revenues, which doesn't sound flashy these days. But, in 2014 and 2015, it was really the Hail Mary. You were just like, what, 120 crores. So we grew it to 120 crores. And while I was doing this, I was also speaking globally. And, when you're doing that, and being the token female entrepreneur, I got a lot of questions around entrepreneurship and women, but more so women entrepreneurship in India. And I had been mentoring women, so I knew that there were enough female founders coming through in the startup ecosystem. What I didn't realize were the dismal numbers in terms of funding going to them, right? And so basically it's 2% of the funding that goes to female entrepreneurs in the startup ecosystem, which was just devastating to look at, because I had always assumed, since we had raised a lot of money institutionally, I had just assumed that it was, it was flying for everybody now. And I started doing intense research, and I realized the only way to change the statistic was to have more women sitting on this side of the table. And so in 2018, I let my investors know that I'd be moving on. And 2019, we set up the fund. 2020, we called our first close. And here we are. We just did our first exit, and hopefully it's the first of many, and we'll all be excited. And when you guys talk to me a year from now, it'll be, we're hitting at least 2, 3 unicorns and 2, 3 more exits.
That's fantastic, Anisha, because you're a founding partner of She Capital, and it's an early stage fund that invests in women-led businesses. So why did you look and say, okay, women-led businesses, why are they any different? And we're sitting in 2022, and a lot of people ask us this question, that why do we still have to focus specifically on this segment?
For anybody who says, and the easiest way to explain this is just because, you ride in a car and you don't get eve teased because you're riding in a car doesn't mean eve teasing doesn't exist and people don't get it on the streets, right? It's just you being sheltered. So, and I try explaining this to female founders that have been lucky raising a lot of money. But when you look at the statistics and you actually do look at the general picture, and each one of us knows this, there has been a certain bias, when I was raising money in 2009 for my Dala, okay, I was also pregnant. And, we had a lot of VCs say a lot of stuff about me coming off the table. This is not an unusual phenomenon. We're 10 years later, but there is still the needle in terms of funding hasn't moved. So there is very much a need for creating an ecosystem for female founders, because the fact is we did start a little later than our male counterparts. And I'm not, we keep trying to explain this to people. She Capital is not very, it's not about she. It's very much about diversity. We are big believers of diversity. So I love co-led teams. I love teams that have at least 2 people that are able to bounce ideas off of each other. I think it's very much needed. It's very much the need of the hour. So we decided to focus on something that was desperately needed in this. So She Capital isn't about, just funding 14 portfolio companies. It's about creating an ecosystem very much like you all that lets entrepreneurs come together and talk about challenges, right? Because the higher you go, the lonelier it gets, right? It's not easy, and it's not easy to be able to talk about your struggles. And you're having issues going from simple examples. If you're a consumer tech company, you're having issues going from modern trade to general trade, all that, and being able to discover your products from Amazon, Flipkart, and how do you list on one of these, all those things, right? But if you're able to talk to founders that belong in the same network and are doing the same thing, it's just so brilliant. So the idea behind She Capital was to be able to create that, which is a set of phenomenal female founders that kind of support each other and learn from each other and are able to help each other. And we're out to do that and also prove that women are great business. I think when we started the fund, we were looked at, with hesitation, and that's a polite word, because nobody believed, a lot of people were like, it's an NGO, right? That's what it is. And nobody believed that women can lead profitable businesses. They're a great business. But, if you look at it, studies have shown that women return more money on the investment on the dollar than men. But people don't believe this. So our idea is to prove this thesis in India. And we're doing so, right? We just did that with Clovia. My LPs are over the moon right now with, it is actually, I think, the largest exit in the fashion space right now in India, which is a cash exit. So my LPs are over the moon, and I want to be able to prove this not once but over, that women are great business.
I love this fact because the stereotypes, and we talk about them, but the funny part is we're still facing a lot of these stereotypes, and I'll let Urvi and I'll come back to this.
Yeah. And taking that thought forward in some of the stereotypes that do exist, having spoken to so many VCs, I clearly remember one of the conversations that said men entrepreneurs will confidently overpromise on delivering their dreams or their agendas or their vision. And women, on the other hand, will never underpromise. They will never overstate what they're trying to achieve, and because they want to be absolutely sure about their vision, their promises, and what they're trying to deliver. So, so in net, the bias that really comes out is that women are more conservative and they do not overstate in general. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, I completely agree with whoever said that. The thing is that when I used to be on the founder side, right? I used to be really proud of the fact that we were being realistic. We were so on point in terms of what we were going to say, and very excited for it too. Now that I sit on the VC side, I actually think it's a big hindrance, and it's actually one of my biggest annoyance points that we're unable to change this aspect. We have male founders and female co-founders, pitching to us all the time, and you see this exact thing happen over and over and over again. You know Whatever a guy says, you have to discount it by 100. Whatever the female says, you have to up it by 100. But the negative, what ends up happening is VCs will walk away thinking she doesn't understand scale, which is what I'm also personally, we were talking, my partner and I were talking the other day, and I told her, I said, it's a negative. Now I realize that we look at it and we say she can't get scale. And here I was sitting on the other side of the table doing exactly the same thing. But I know it's, from the female founder's point of view, she's just being very realistic. But VCs don't want to see realistic. They want to see the vision. Can you see the bigger picture with us? We'll help you get there, or we'll help you scale. But can you see the scale with us? So I think it's very much needed. And I think as females, we need to start looking at that and really going against our nature and just talking bigger, which we're a little hesitant of.
Yeah, no, wonderfully expressed. Can't agree more on that.
No, but totally well said, because I think it fears us, because we feel that if we make a commitment, we want to live up to that commitment, so that whatever we say, we can do it. It's kind of like the superwoman syndrome also. I don't want to let anybody down. I want to make sure. But I want to talk about the scaling, because this is really where a lot of entrepreneurs get lost. We're very good at ideas. We're very good at kind of saying, okay, great, let's start it up. But especially women, a lot of us don't even know how to go about raising money and then figuring out that how much capital is required actually to scale a business.
Okay. So I'm assuming you're asking, how do you scale, or what is it that takes you to the next level?
Yes. And when should you start thinking about that? Yes. What should you start thinking about scale from the very beginning?
So no, I think it's one step at a time, right? You've got to have an idea that is solid. I can't begin to tell you how many requests I get on LinkedIn that say, I have an idea, I want to talk to you. I'm not going to talk to you. You didn't do the homework and you didn't reach out to me. So I think it's very much, you have to put in the work. And I tell everybody this: put your thoughts down on paper, put the pitch deck through. If you're already past that stage and you've got your proof of concept running or your beta running, okay, then it's about actually then putting down on paper, listen, what is the bigger vision? Where are we trying to take this to? And, there are a lot of people, and I say this all the time, you don't have to think 500 million. You can say, listen, I want to grow this to 100 crores, and I think I can sell this to someone. A lot of times we as investors will always ask everybody, where is it that you're seeing the exit? Where is it that you're seeing the scale? Where is it that you're seeing that, that aha moment happen for you? So my advice to people who are starting out or who've just started out is, especially female founders, is know your business. I hope you're, solving some serious problems. Understand your costing. This, I can't explain to you how many people don't do this. Put down your projections. I don't know why my female founders, whoever I've met mostly, will let the banker do it, will let the CFO do it. And, it's your business. Put down your projections, understand your own business. It's so important, because when you're doing that, just putting down basic numbers, projections doesn't mean you have to do, long Excels, which are multiple tabs. You can just put down really basic numbers and see where are your costs that are coming through and what is impacting it. Where are your revenue drivers? What is impacting it? These are things that are really important. And once you start putting that down, you actually understand that for yourself. And when you're talking to an investor, you can speak better around it. Because one of the pet peeves that I have, and I'm sure a lot of VCs have, and I talk about this very openly, is women don't talk numbers. I don't know what it is. When we ask you to, explain your revenue, the female founder looks at whoever the guy is with her in the room, which is irritating to me. And so my thing is, get comfortable with your numbers. It's really important to understand just basic broad numbers. Start networking. This is the beauty of COVID that's happened, the Zoom. You don't need to any longer go out and network. You can actually network with people and meet them for a 10-minute online thing much before. So my thing to people and founders is, the best time to meet VCs is when you're not raising any money, right? Because if you come to me and you say, listen, I really need to borrow 5,000 rupees and I don't know you from anywhere, my hesitation level will be very high. But if you and I have known each other 2 years, I'll gladly give it to you and say, sure, get back to me. Similarly, investment world runs the same way. If you've been chatting with me since you started your business and now you're, a year into it and you're raising money, the odds of me giving it to you or being able to introduce you to people are very high. And lastly, I think understand your investors and your VCs. I have a lot of people who reach out to us without doing homework on what our background is, right? There are different VCs that cater to different investment sizes. They have, particular specialities and they only focus on that. So just do your homework on that and understand that better, and it will really help you. And you'll see this come through, and I say this to single founders, and no offense to single founders because Falguni was, a single founder, but co-led teams or co-founders, generally tend to have more success. You'll see lesser hesitation come from a VC. So if you're a single founder, and I know this is a pain point because I get it from a lot of female founders, that where can I find my co-founder? But do see if you can actively look for a strong person who's your secondary, because that's one of the things that people look for. And that's one of the things that's going to help you scale as well, right? You need a strong team that's right next to you as you scale. You can't be doing everything on your own.
Fantastic. No, so well said. Over to you, Urvi.
So, let's, since we're talking about women and all of that, I want to just take that thought forward. You are extremely accomplished in your own way. You're on the jury of Cartier Women Initiative Awards. You've been a judge on the reality show by MTV. You have you running a successful venture. Now you're on the other side of the table trying to help other women. What does it take to be there?
I don't know. I mean, I think it takes getting up, when you get knocked down to your knees, it takes just getting up and saying, I'm going to keep moving. I won't lie to you. The raising for the fund has been probably, and this is weird, right? Because I've been a founder so many times round now, and raising for the fund was one of the hardest things I did ever, because it was just a tough thesis to be able to explain to people that She Capital is going to do great business, and we are going to be backing amazing female-led businesses. So it was a tough couple of years, and ideally I should have said, oh, this doesn't work for India, and done something else. But I think the idea is to keep going. If you look at the statistics, I think 70% of the startups fail globally, actually, in the first 2 years. So I think it's really about just pushing through even those deep moments where you're like, I just can't do it anymore. It's really about I think not quitting is half the battle won. So as long as you keep doing that, you're sorted and you'll make it through somehow. The jury and all, I don't know. I mean, that you got to ask them how they did it. I will say this, the applications are out soon for the grants and everything. So please, if anybody is looking for funding, that's a great route to be looking at.
Fantastic. No, absolutely. Totally.
I want to ask you this because we're talking about breaking stereotypes. And one of the stereotypes everybody's scared about, because we talk a lot about tech, but you didn't come from a typical tech background. So tell us about that and how you shifted to tech, because everybody feels you need to have that tech degree to be in a tech-centric company.
Okay, I hate to break this, but I actually do technically have a tech background because my MBA was in designing information systems. But I didn't come from a background before that was in tech. But I went into tech roles after that. So I didn't go the typical IIT route and then make it through, but I was designing products. I designed products in the e-learning place. I've designed products ever since, all the way through. So I have no way of answering that except that when you're doing something, it just happens. And tech is just tech is an enabler. It's not the be all and end all. Okay, you've got to understand your business, not really get overwhelmed by this and say, oh, I don't understand. You can get a CTO who gets it. But if you really understand your business, I think you're pretty sorted. It's really about running the business. It's not, you'll find people who will run the technology that will enable you to get there. I think it's what is your idea? What are you trying to accomplish? And does it even need the tech aspect? I've got people who are running great products that are, doing phenomenally well on, in an offline manner. They don't need to go on tech, and they feel this pressure that, oh, I got to go D2C because I'll get the valuation, but they're doing so well on the modern trade, general trade side. So I really think there's no particular mold, and I really feel like people should just play to their advantage and do what they're doing best, as opposed to getting pressured to do a particular way because that's what is the popular thing that moment.
Yeah, no, I used to joke. I mean, because, we do a media company, and that we should call it media tech now because it's ed tech, fintech. You just need to add that buzzword because that's what kind of captivates everybody these days. So it's good to get your viewpoint because your undergrad was not that, but you made it up in your master's, because a lot of people feel that, no, what if I didn't do it, that, I'm going to be at a loss moving forward.
I think, if you're running a tech company, you really do need to know your basics. You need to understand technology. You want to be able to talk to your investors when they're asking you, what tech engine is your site running on, what servers are running at the back. You want to be able to know that, right? But that's like knowing your numbers. You need to know that, but it doesn't mean you have to do your doctorate in it before you go into it. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are dropouts and then they've started companies, that have done really well tech-wise.
Awesome. Over to you, Urvi.
Yeah. So, you talked about women knowing their numbers. You talked about women knowing the science behind the scenes, like the tech engines. But does it also mean that they need to have a perfect venture, so because most women in their mind, they're very harsh to themselves in that endeavor to be perfect, and when that gets applied to business, it really translates to having a venture that's really delivering a flawless product or a service or a platform, whatever that may be. How critical do you think it is to, say, launching a startup and sustaining it?
And people can disagree. This is a controversial question, right? I think it's a fine balance that you play there. I think if you're, I've seen founders that are so worried about getting the right product, just the perfect product out, that have missed the, bus because it's too late. Somebody's already come, grabbed that spot and move. There is something for a first mover advantage, especially now when the market in certain sectors is becoming more and more and more crowded, right? That being said, you have only so many attempts at getting your customers to love you. So you give me, one awful experience. Okay. You give me 2 awful experiences, I'll be out, no matter how brilliant your product is, So, so there's a fine line that is played here. I always tell people that can be, push your product out, push it into beta as early as possible. And by beta, I mean just to test, with a test group so that you understand it better. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to push it out to your friends and family, because sometimes they're not the best people to get it around. But there are a lot of people who will actively, by the way, give you on social media their feedback on your product. So my thing is, get the product out, have great customer service backing it, because that's more important, and then work to fine tune it, and then push a perfect product out. Sometimes, your budgets don't enable you to. You want to be able to do an app, you've got a website and the web experience, but the app is too expensive, right? And you can't find app developers that'll work full time for you, giving you the experience. So your budget might not enable you to do that. And I think at that particular point in time, it's better you launch it, do a proof of concept, and are able to go back to investors and say, this is what I've done, this is the reaction I'm getting. But then do just an amazing web product, so that you can get feedback and then go back to investors and get it.
Yeah, I think we in this process walk a very, very tightrope between striving that balance in sort of demonstrating the end product that we're trying to get to, and of course making it perfect and juggling with the numbers in the process. So
You know
yes.
what? It really unnerves me even now, right? You'll see even bigger companies. Sometimes after you've raised funding, I think you lose sight, and then your product, you're like, did anybody just do a QA on it? The quality check on this. So I think that balance has to be maintained through and through, no matter what happens, so that the customer experience is brilliant.
Oh,
Absolutely.
it's very well said, because I worked for Nokia and everybody knows the sad story. It's no longer there. We were doing touch phones, but because it would shatter, when it fell, that we were not confident enough that, look, let's release the product. So it was always like, no, we need to get it better. We need to get it better. And by then somebody else came in and said, you know what, it's okay. I think we can manage that flaw we'll either give a replacement, we'll do something else, and we lost the entire market. But I want to ask you about this, because this is one of the typical problems, especially when a woman thinks about becoming an entrepreneur and says, how do I manage it all? So I want to ask you personally, how do you manage it all? Because that seems to be the overwhelming factor of managing kids, managing school, managing the company.
I don't manage it all. And now, I think you can do what you do as long as you're comfortable knowing that you don't manage it all. Okay. And you're okay with it. Some days something's going to slip, some days something's going to slip. Some days I'm going to be, like not so great mommy, and some days I'm not going to be not so great CEO. And I'm cool with that, right? Especially with my hectic travel schedule. I know that there are a lot of things that keeps just falling off the plate. It's okay. More than that, also, I think it takes, and I say this often because it is true. It takes a village to raise a child, especially when it comes to a female founder. It definitely takes a very supportive family and a husband to make it happen. And so everybody keeps talking about what can you do as female founders. I tell everybody, find the right partner too. It's such an important, it's not just an important personal decision. It's a career decision, which can't be explained to you in words right now, but it's so, so important. The right partner will help you with the upward thrust. The wrong partner will just help you stagnate. So it's really important.
So agree with that, because finding the right person, and I know people don't want to hear this, but yes, when you're making that decision of who to get married, please have these very important discussions also.
Yeah, I mean, it is about sharing duties. It is about doing time. And it's also about your family has got to be really understanding about it. I'm fortunate that I have a supportive family on both the sides. Otherwise, I would not be able to do, I think, even 1/8 of what I end up doing, and doing it well. So.
And I want to ask you now, before I turn it over to Urvi, your passion of returning back to India, because I think 2009, when you did Maidala, it wasn't the hottest thing to do. You were sitting there, you're sitting in DC, because I'm sure you got a lot of eyeballs and eyebrows raised that why do you want to come back?
Yeah, and I gave up my green card, and I was pregnant that time. So my lawyer, most frustrated person more than anybody else, was my lawyer, who was like, who does this? Like people come here, they're like paying money to come here, and you're moving back. Like people come here and have babies, and you're moving back. So it was I don't know what. Maybe it was like the pregnancy hormones had gone to my brain. I don't know what it was, but I came back to have the kids and to do the startup when I was pregnant, which was an anomaly. It's an anomaly even now, but in 2009, you hardly saw a female founder, but to see a pregnant female founder trying to raise money was just, craziness. So So I don't know. I always knew I'm going to come back. I worked for the Clinton administration, and then I always felt like I'm going to go back into my own country and do something worthwhile and make an impact. Even if it's a small dent, whatever it is, I'll make it happen. And hopefully it's a good dent that I worked on and not like an awful dent. So let's see.
Over to you, Urvi. But I was dying to ask you that question because when I moved back in 2008. So people always look at this, say, why did you do that?
Yeah. No, I still get, my lawyer still calls me all complaining. Like, you were the only person who did this. Who did it? Who does this? So anyway.
So as you strive to make that impact, that dent in not only in your own life, but making a meaningful impact towards changing other people's lives, and of course getting your hands and arms around different things, are you content and happy with the way your life is shaped up, or there are areas that you would like to venture out to, shape things better, do things differently, do more of, as you're navigating?
No, I'm very happy with my life. I have no complaints. I'm very satisfied and greedy at the same time, if I can explain, if I can just put that out there, because I believe that if you're satisfied to the point where you're just still, there's no growth, right? And so I like the fact that I'm constantly pushing myself or getting pushed to the point where there's always some learning for myself. And that's the only way it makes you happy, right? That's the only way you can grow, is you're at satisfaction and then you say, okay, now I'm going to chill. I like doing that too. Don't get me wrong. I love my Goa breaks, okay, or I love my Phuket breaks, but I love having that drive and being able to run. And I'm grateful to God for, giving me all that enables me to do that. And so no, I'm very, very, very happy with my life, very satisfied.
So Anisha, now we're going to take some questions that are coming in from the audience. So Silky, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, and thank you. Actually, I would like to say thank you to entire team. I used to attend these sessions from last 6 months, and I'm finding a drastic change in my thinking also. Today, actually, after several months, due to some personal reasons, I skipped some sessions, and today again I'm in this panel, and with this discussion, I got a kind of energy I could not explain even. So, the reason behind it, like when I used to listen this discussion, these conversations, they motivated me that, yeah, there are several things what I need to do. When we were discussing in this panel about, how we have to manage the things with kids and all. So let me tell you, I have 2 years old daughter. So if I would, go for when I was listening those lines, like you need to have supportive family and husband. So sorry to say, but these things, came after your aggression. So I would like to suggest don't wait for it. Just try to make that space that people have to accept you that yeah, you are going to do something for yourself, or for yourself, or you have to make your career for yourself. If anyone is there to support you, great enough. If they are not going to support you, let it be like that. Don't try to change them. The first thing. The second thing, what my question is, if I'm going to start something bigger or small entity even, so is it really important to find some partner sort of thing, or individually I could go with, with my smaller idea, with my smaller budget and all? This is my query.
No, so can I take that, girls?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so no, I don't think you need a partner. It depends on your ideas. If you need, you're doing some big play where you need somebody who's technology strong and you're not technology strong, then, but it's idea dependent, right? It's very individual, so individualistic. So if you don't need all that, then go ahead, start up. I mean, I always tell people, if not now, then when? So go ahead, start up. And actually, when you start up and you start doing your business, whether it is and you start doing small baby steps, even you'll know the kind of co-founder. You can even find that person later, and you'll have better negotiating power then, right? Because listen, I'm looking for this kind of partner, or I'm looking for this kind of senior employee to come along. Whatever you need, you'll come to know better. So I think, no, in your case, you start your small venture and, take baby steps and take it. Just make sure it's something relevant that you kind of love doing.
Bhavna, Bhagat also had a question. Go ahead, Bhavna.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that opportunity. So my question was pretty simple. What is the market share, and which kind of, businesses, or what kind of, models should we as women look at to, pitch in first time ever? So first question is, what kind of models or what kind of, entrepreneurship engagement should we enter into? And what is the global market share for women entrepreneurs?
So in India, I think it's about 14 or 15%, okay, that are single female-led entrepreneurship. And I'm just talking India statistics because I know those are, better. And however, Invest India, and so nobody has a clear picture on the exact number, okay, here in India, because we haven't recorded it properly. However, Invest India and the government have a record of almost close to 48% of co-led startups. But these could have, some guy who started up and he's put his mother as a director and everything. That's the first thing. Second, in terms of what are the sectors or, opportunities where you think that are easily fundable? I think it's a very generic question. I think people should do what they love. I think people should be solving for a need that they actually find, as opposed to saying this sector is very hot. And this is the problem. I'll give you I'll talk about something which is edtech, right? Edtech is a super hot market right now. Okay. It's a super hot sector. That doesn't mean you're going to find success in it. It doesn't. It means that it's already an overcrowded market where a lot of Me Too's are coming through, right? And so my thing is, don't look at, what is super hot right now or what is getting funded by VCs. It's more about what is my passion, what is going to drive me, and what do I believe is solving a problem. This is what I've loved about female founders. Female founders actually look more at an impact angle, and impact is not a bad word, by the way, because you're saving the environment and the earth, or actually making a difference broadly. So you'll find female founders will find something like a breast cancer detection device and actually create that, or they'll find something that is actually impactful and actually be able to create that. So I think you should really look at what is the need that you're solving, or that nobody's solving for right now. And trust me, there are many, because a lot of the products in the Indian market were designed for women by men. So there's a huge open land in terms of, to give you an example, we used to only have Stay Free and what was the other one? There was another, we only had two pads, right? Stay Free and Carefree. Okay. There was no other pad in the Indian market until somebody said, hey, women need options. Women need overnight. Women need this, women need that. Now we have all sorts of things, right? Cups, tampons, pads. So I think there's a lot of things that still need to be solved for, which we can as women look at.
Nicely
Thank you
said.
so much. Yeah.
Maitri had a question. Maitri, go ahead.
Yeah, great session. I'm a physician, and unfortunately, business is not something which is taught to us in medical school. After 25 years of experience, both in the US and in India, now in India, I have a couple of ideas and I want to take it forward. My question is, would you recommend a partnership early on? Or is it a good thing to do, bringing in sweat equity partners early on and then look for investment, or part of it could be self-funded too by myself? or is it good to have proof of concept, have some kind of a funding structure, and then bring in partnership at like a fee for service, at how much they work, a percentage of that? Are these options, or which would you recommend?
I would recommend whatever your idea is, basis that uh, just see what's the best. If it's tech heavy, okay, so if you're doing something in health tech and you have the health background, but you don't have the tech background and you need someone, maybe you can bring them in for a slight sweat activity. Okay. However, don't get overwhelmed with it and say, okay, they're coming in with the tech, because in the health tech, you're still the health aspect of it, right? But it's really dependent on what your need is. I don't think you should. One of the things is a lot of people then get blindsided and then they start looking for a co-founder and they forget that they've got a business and a great business idea. So it shouldn't be where you lose focus and you're like, okay, I'm now looking for a co-founder. I've had people who are looking for co-founders for 6 months when they could be executing on their own, right? So
Okay, right. Okay.
my thing is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, okay, then you need to realize that you're going to constantly be juggling stuff, all right? And you can have it the back of your head, when I find the right person, I will bring them on it. Honestly, having a co-founder is a marriage, and
Difficult one.
it's a very difficult, and so
Yeah.
it's not something you should take lightly, and it's not something you
Right.
can be like, oh, I like this person, you met them at the party and that's it. It's really about spending time with the person and realizing, do your ideologies or your vision and scale match or not. So
Right.
take it pretty seriously and start executing on your idea, and keep this at the back of your head and start telling people, actually, you're looking for a co-founder. You'll be amazed how many people, especially since Shark Tank, are so excited about doing a startup. You'll actually have but you'll have more success if you've already started up and are moving along.
Great advice. Thank you. Another question was, if we are looking for mentorship or somebody whom you can, like you said, I love the idea that it's like female skewed. Where are there places we could tap into for such an advisory platform, or guidance, or a mentorship, basically?
Yeah, there's several. There's CWE, which is Catalyst for Women Entrepreneurs. Okay, that does it. There's Latika Pai does one, which is in Bangalore. Just Google Latika Pai. Okay, she's
Okay.
now running Microsoft, but she also does one, which is an offbeat thing. But CWE definitely does it. Okay, then Atal Innovation Fund. Okay, which is by the government. Okay. It's the incubation lab. It's out of Jaipur or some place. They also have a remote program. Okay, so there are several that are doing this now that you can look at, and just kind of Google them, and you'll see that the resources coming through. Especially now, by the way, you'll see more and more stuff. There's a couple of incubators as well that are female friendly. So if you put down female founders and what can you find, you'll find it. If you go to She Capital, in the resources, you'll find it as well, that there's some stuff on there.
I also wanted to ask a follow-up question on that,
Sure.
because you spoke about that and you said, what is the advantage that a lot of these women are getting? But those are the women that you have funded or organized. Is there a way for other women to also join in and get that expertise that your mentors are providing, the way that they have scaled and that expertise that they have?
So we've been bad about this. We did a couple of sessions that we actually put online, which were around pain points that we thought women had, which was, funding and, what's the difference between debt funding and VC funding. A lot of people don't understand the difference, right? I didn't understand it till I became a part of this industry. So we did a couple of sessions around this, which were great. And then we've kind of gotten busy with our own agendas around funding. But we're doing an event in September, which is a buy invite event for certain female founders. Currently, we are only restricting it to 150 female founders. But we will open it up to more and more. So, I mean, people can write in or put it on our LinkedIn, and we'll look at female founders. As long as it's an innovative idea or a thought that they're working on, we might look at getting them into the event. But we are trying to build out more of a network with some people. That's in the play. At some point we'll have it. It's in the future somewhere. We're just working on it and seeing what to do, which causes a bigger impact.
No, that'll be awesome. I mean, I'm looking forward. I hope that we'll be also able to attend. So Rajan, Nagendra has a question. Go ahead.
Hi, madam. It was very brilliant. I could get a lot of insight. So somewhere I need more clarity when you said, yeah, let the product go out, first mover advantage. In that context, how do you build a strong companies with a fine line? Because, I do mentor a lot of startups on a technology side.
Sure.
Most of the founders, they go with, low quality product and they end up in firefighting. So do you have, yes, you also mentioned about, some trade-off, fine line.
Yes.
So do you have a practical way of implementing it? Though I do it in certain way, but before that, I would really love to hear, how people implement that fine line.
Yeah, we've always asked people to do proof of concept with a smaller group, which is a test group that they have. So it's not rolled out to everybody, the product. It's only rolled out to a test group where they're able to get feedback. And this is not just for your first product launch. It's actually every product launch you do, you should ideally be doing this. And we ask people to do a lot of A and B testing on their site, even now, just to make sure, even in terms of the interface, something is being accepted, something is not. There are so many times I personally, because I come from the design background, have loved things and I think, oh, this is going to look so good. My customers are going to like this. And I'm talking about Maidala. And we've had it be a total flop. So A and B testing, if you've already rolled out your product. Otherwise, in a controlled environment, just do a proof of concept with your strongest customers or champions. And we've seen that works really well because you're able to get feedback, refine, and then push it out. So when I mean push it out, I don't mean push it out to everybody.
So Alpani had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for enlightening all of us. So the question is, in terms of being a social entrepreneur, would you like to share a little perspective here? What top 3 things that one should look for and start off? So I have a idea with respect to upcycling and want to turn that into a social aspect.
So what is the question? What is it that you are tell me?
So I wanted to see, how do I first look forward in terms of funding, and second is, who would be those right set of people that I can approach in terms of environment, especially upcycling, if you have any ideas or any connectivity.
So first and foremost, you need to put that down on a piece of paper, what you're going to do. All right. And then execute a little bit on your business idea. It's exactly what Raja was mentioning. You don't roll out to a VC or an investor without having done your homework or a proof of concept or an idea, right? Because the first thing I'm going to ask you is, so if I came to ask you for money and I said, listen, can you give me money? I have an idea on my head. Will you give it to me? No, simple. So it's the same thing, right? You want to be able to have something called a pitch deck. If you Google it, you'll find it. Okay. So you want to be able to do a pitch deck. You want to be able to create, put down exactly what you have. Okay. You want to be able to create financial projections that show us how are we going to get our money back. Nobody's going to give you money if they don't know how they're getting the money back and what is the upside for them to invest in your business, right? So you want to be able to show the profitability, the growth for at least 1 year or 2 years. And this you should be doing for yourself anyway, so that you understand your own costing, which is, this is what it's going to take me to set up the business. This is what is going to be the costing for me. And this is what I believe the revenues will be. Okay. Because what ends up happening is when you do that, and what I call projections, is you start tracking yourself to that. You hold yourself to a benchmark. So suppose you thought that you're going to do 3 lakhs, in the first month, and you end up doing 5, then you're onto something solid. You go back to your, angel investors. So the stage that we come in is a higher stage. there is something called an angel investor, where you basically go to angel investors, and you can do that through many networks. Let's Venture, IAN, Bombay Angels, Mumbai Angels, or many others. And you go back to them and say, listen, I was looking to do 3 lakh projections monthly. I'm already at 5 lakhs. Okay, that's something. But if you didn't hold to that, and suppose you did 1 lakh, revenue, and you had thought you're going to do 3 lakhs, but you're burning 5 lakhs, then you need to do some tweaking. But all that is going to happen when you've actually done something, right? So that investors can look at it. Now, it might be actually that your idea is so phenomenal that you don't need to get it to revenue stage. Right now, startup market is so hot that you can actually put an idea and go to certain incubators and angels and say, this is my idea, and would you be open to looking at it? But it has to be an amazing idea. And honestly, 9 out of 10 times, it also has to be an amazing team that's probably done a startup or come off a startup. So investors know that they have some background and they know the expectations of them.
Right. Thank you so much, Sukirti and Anisha.
Thank you. Well, that we
Madam,
always
can I ask the follow-up question?
Sure, go ahead.
Madam, you mentioned, that, A/B testing, one of the technique I follow is, because, once somebody from the leadership says that, let us push it to, out early. What I've seen, entire team, start, taking it for granted.
Mm.
So that way, what I really recommend is, at least few people in the leadership should always focus on a long term, and few people on a short term, and then there's some convergence should happen, so that there is the guy who is on the top, knows the risk, and then he can still put forward his idea in a way that startup is not diluting the known. So do you think some fine line can come in that way?
As in that some people are focused on the short term and some people are focused on the long term?
Exactly, like you said, if we don't want them to even no design, no A/B testing, no beta testing. So these are the shortcuts.
I don't know who does that, because if you're not doing any of those things and you're rolling out a product, then you're anyway setting yourself up for not having many customers or not being able to prove your thesis to the market. So that some amount of that has to happen on a product anyway, right? You don't roll out anything without having it done, whether you roll it out to a test. So I agree with you, but I mean, and maybe you're in the thick of things with certain startups that are doing this, which are just rolling out products. Okay. But 9 out of 10 times, I mean, by the time they come, and the way I've worked is essentially, we always have certain amount of things. When I said that you roll out things, I mean, even if you just execute, you don't get it to the point that is so perfect. You're creating the Taj Mahal, and then you realize that somebody's already made it virtually and allowed for people to go on. That was the only thing. So I agree with you. There has to be people within the product team that have shared the longer picture and the closer picture. But at the same time, I really hope even the people who are doing the closer picture are not rolling out products without any testing.
No, that's very, very good advice, because I think often we are so eager to get our product out there that we don't actually focus on that fact because we are so in love with what we do. Urvi, do you have any last question as we end for today?
No, just would love to hear what would be your words of wisdom as we conclude this session. What are your parting thoughts for the youngsters of today?
God, I have no words of wisdom. I always get this, and I should keep a canned answer, but I don't have any. My thing is, look, if you're looking to start up, there's no better time than now. Okay, especially as a female founder, because the ecosystem is so much better than what it was 10 years ago. And so there's no better time. And if you keep thinking about it, somebody's going to come along and do it. So better that you do it. Like I say, if not now, then when? So that's pretty much it. But also know this, that entrepreneurship, it sounds really sexy. Everybody talks about it, and you hear only of the beautiful stories where these unicorns and everybody's getting funded, and people have 300 crore, 400 crores. That's not really, I mean, a lot of these people took 8-10 years to become overnight successes, right? So it's not, if you're only looking at that and that's the shiny, flashy thing that you're getting attracted to, then that's not it, right? Entrepreneurship in itself is a really hard journey. It's got its ups and its downs. And I think that's why entrepreneurs get attracted to, it's like a drug. It's like high, low, high, low, high, low. And so if you're okay with that and knowing that you're going to have to make many sacrifices along the way, then, I think go for it. Just don't overthink it,
I love it, Anisha. Lots of great takeaways. Just do it and just keep at it. I think those were the two for me. I don't know for you, Urvi, but I think at least for us, we're very inspired. And I think a lot of people will feel very inspired to say, yes, you know what, I can do it. So on behalf of Lean in India, Sipping Thoughts and Business World, thank you. Thank you for this
so much for having me.
insight session.
Thank you.